we are on page number 6 from the book Breaking Free from Fear, and we look at an incident that happened in the Sea of Galilee, very similar to the previous incident that I spoke about. But this time Jesus had gone to the mountain to pray, and he had sent his disciples on the boat. So that's the background of the story. So Jesus was not with them on the boat. He had gone to the mountain to pray, and his disciples were alone on the boat, and they were sent by Jesus. So I'm reading from Matthew chapter 14 verse 24 to 33. But the boat was already a long distance from the land, battered by the waves, for the wind was contrary. That's the background of the story. The boat was already a long distance from the land, battered by the waves. So there was waves, and they were a long distance, so it's not possible to swim back. It says, and for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus came to them walking on the sea. In the fourth watch of the night, Jesus came to them walking on the sea. Now this is around 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. It's night time, there is no light, and you see a person walking towards you a long distance from the land. You see a person walking towards you in the night, probably there is moonlight, and you see this person. What's your immediate reaction? Verse 26 says, when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. They were terrified. And they said, it is a ghost, and they cried out in fear. It is a ghost, they cried out in fear. Verse 27 says, but immediately Jesus spoke to them. It's interesting that the moment they were fearful, immediately Jesus spoke to them and said, take courage, it is I. Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid. Peter said to him. Now here we see Peter talking back to him or responding to him, and he said in verse 28, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. Command me to come to you on the water. And Jesus said, come. And Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came towards Jesus. So Peter obeyed the words of Jesus. Jesus said, come. Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came towards Jesus. Verse 30 is very interesting. So we see in verse 29, Peter walked on water. There is no other incident mentioned in the Bible of anyone else walking on water except two people, Jesus and Peter. In verse 30, it says, but seeing the wind, he became frightened. But seeing the wind, Peter became frightened, and beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. So here we see that Peter called Jesus Lord, save me. Immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and took hold of him. He stretched out his hand and took hold of him. So now remember, Jesus is still walking on the water. He's still standing on the water. He took hold of him and said to Peter, you of little faith, why did you doubt? Now in the earlier portion that we saw, where Jesus is asking the disciples, how is it that you have no faith? That was an address to the disciples. That was his question to the disciples. But here we see Jesus asking Peter, you of little faith, why did you doubt? And when they got into the boat, so they walked to the boat, they got into the boat, the wind stopped. And those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, you are certainly God's son. So after this whole incident, we see that they worshipped Jesus. That was their reaction. They worshipped Jesus. In the earlier portion we read, they asked a question. The question was, who then is this man that even the wind and the sea obey him? That was their question. We saw the answer to that in John chapter 1 verse 1 to 3. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. But here we see the reaction of those people, of the disciples, were those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, you are certainly God's son. Now I want to connect this to a portion in Jeremiah chapter 32 verse 26 and 27. It says, then the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah, saying, behold, I am the Lord the God of all flesh. So he's reminding Jeremiah and saying, behold, look, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. He's a God, he's the Lord, the God of all flesh. Is anything too difficult for me? Is anything too difficult for me? He is a God who can calm the seas, he can calm the waves, he can ask Peter to walk on the water because he is the God and there is nothing difficult for him. So let's take courage as we go through these times. Let's take courage and know that he is our God and there is nothing difficult for him. May God bless you.
To get in touch, call us on +91 86550 or email us at info@preceptindia.org. You can also find us on www.preceptindia.org. God bless you.